The moment they notice your focus, they panic. Because a man who sees clearly cannot be controlled. You'll feel it, the shift in their tone, the unease in their smiles, the quiet resistance in their eyes. They sense something they can't name, that you no longer belong to the crowd. They study you now. Every silence, every step, every glance that refuses distraction. They can't stand a man who doesn't need noise to feel alive, because your stillness exposes their chaos. Your calm reveals their weakness. They want your energy scattered across gossip, lust, envy, validation. They want you chasing everything except yourself. That's how they control the herd, drown every sharp mind in endless motion. But the moment you stop, the moment you turn your eyes inward and see through their design, you become the one thing they fear, a man who can't be moved. Machiavelli called it the law of necessity. When a man has something unshakable to pursue, he becomes ruthless, not because he hates, but because he no longer cares for the trivial. This is how you forge an aura so cold, so deliberate, that no one dares interrupt your empire in the making. Every distraction that approaches you hesitates. Comment below. I am the storm behind my silence. Say it again, not as a quote, but as a declaration. Because from this moment, you are no longer among the distracted. You are becoming the danger they whisper about. And this is where the forging begins. Every man lives asleep until something cuts through the noise. A betrayal, a failure, a moment when you see the truth for what it is, that no one is coming to save you. That realization is the beginning of focus, the birth of the ruthless. You start noticing how weak men chase comfort as if it were purpose, how they drown their potential in pleasure, how they mistake movement for progress. They run in circles, proud of their exhaustion, slaves to their own distraction. But you stop. You stand still long enough to see how the game is played. You realize control is never given. It's taken through discipline sharper than the blades of those who mock it. The world doesn't belong to the clever or the kind. It belongs to the focused. Machiavelli taught that fortune favors the man who acts with calculation, not emotion. The ruthless are not cruel. They're simply immune to noise. They know attention is currency, and they spend it like kings. So you withdraw it. From gossip, from comfort, from anything that weakens your edge. You stop responding, you stop explaining, you start observing. And with each act of silence, your aura darkens, solidifies. People begin to sense it. They hesitate before interrupting you. They feel that something in you has changed, that your mind is no longer open for intrusion. This is the awakening, the moment you stop begging for respect and begin commanding it through your stillness. The moment you stop reacting and start calculating. The moment you kill the boy inside you, and the strategist rises. Comment below. My silence commands. Say it like a vow. Because when your focus becomes sacred, your presence becomes lethal. From here on, you are not chasing success. You are forging inevitability. Power doesn't grow in chaos. It grows in silence. Every empire begins not with what you add, but with what you remove. The man who wishes to rise must first erase. He must learn the art of subtraction, of burning the unnecessary until only precision remains. The average man collects noise because it distracts him from his weakness. He confuses stimulation with meaning. He fills his life with chatter, scrolling, comfort, validation, anything that prevents him from facing the mirror. But the Machiavellian mind knows better. He understands that every distraction is a weapon of control. The more noise you let in, the more power you hand away. So you start cutting. You disappear from pointless conversations. You stop giving explanations. You stop proving your worth to people who never earned your time. Every ignored call, every unanswered message, every quiet refusal, it all sharpens your edge. This is not arrogance, this is discipline. The disciplined man terrifies the world because he is not available. He moves like a ghost, seen only when necessary, felt always. Machiavelli warned that too many voices corrupt judgment. Let that be your creed. You do not need approval, you need clarity. The man of focus is not loved, he is respected. His silence carries weight because he speaks only when it serves his purpose. The world fears what it cannot predict, and nothing is more unpredictable than a man who no longer seeks validation. Comment below, my silence dictates power. Speak it like an oath. Because once you eliminate the noise, you stop reacting to the world, and the world starts reacting to you. Remember this. In a culture built on distraction, silence itself is rebellion. And rebellion is where power begins. Isolation is not loneliness. It's refinement. It's the crucible where men of distraction are melted down and reborn as men of power. Most people fear being alone because in solitude, they finally hear their own mind, and it terrifies them. They fill their hours with noise because silence forces truth to the surface. But the disciplined man seeks that silence. He uses it as a forge. He walks alone, not because he rejects the world, but because he is building something the world can't yet understand. The Machiavellian man doesn't hide from solitude, he weaponizes it. He knows that every empire, every strategy, every revolution was conceived in isolation. The crowd produces noise, solitude produces clarity. In the stillness, you see what others miss: motives, patterns, weaknesses. You begin to understand people not through emotion, but through behavior. That's when manipulation loses its power over you, because you've studied it in the silence where no one performs. Isolation also kills dependency. The moment you stop craving company, you become immune to control. The man who can stand alone cannot be bribed with acceptance or broken by abandonment. He moves for purpose, not applause. His mind becomes a fortress, guarded, deliberate, dangerous. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler must sometimes stand apart to see the truth of his court. The same is true for you. Step back. Observe. Let distance give you perspective. Those who misunderstand your silence will reveal themselves by their reaction to it. That's how you identify the weak. They crumble when you stop feeding them attention. Comment below, my solitude sharpens me, because in the discipline of isolation, you stop being one of them and begin becoming one of you. Remember, solitude isn't exile, it's evolution, and those who master it rule those who fear it. Focus is not a skill, it's a declaration of war against weakness, against distraction, against everything that pulls you from your purpose. The world fears the man who can lock his mind on a single objective because nothing can be sold to him. You cannot manipulate what you cannot divert. Machiavelli wrote that power belongs to those who act with necessity, who do not chase but command. Ruthless focus means you become necessity itself. Every move, every word, every silence must serve your empire. Anything that doesn't, dies. The weak think focus is about productivity. It isn't. It's about control. The man who controls his attention controls his emotions. The man who controls his emotions controls his outcomes. The man who controls outcomes controls destiny. That's the hierarchy of dominance. Focus sits at the throne of all achievement, and it demands sacrifice. You will lose people, comfort, and approval. You'll be called cold, distant, arrogant. Let them talk. The lion doesn't explain his silence to sheep. Ruthless focus is clarity without compromise. It's cutting away the optional, the emotional, the trivial. It's choosing what must be done and executing it without hesitation. Every interruption is treated as an act of war, because it is. Distraction is the enemy's first tactic. If they can't stop your strength, they'll fracture your attention. That's why you must defend it like territory. Guard your time as you would guard a throne. Guard your energy as you would guard a secret. Comment below, my focus is my kingdom. Because when your attention becomes law, you stop serving the world, and the world starts serving you. Remember this, a distracted man is a harmless man, but a focused man is a threat. And in this world, only threats are respected. Power is not always spoken. Often, it's simply felt. A man who has mastered focus carries an energy that unsettles the room before he says a word. His presence rewires the air. calm, cold, deliberate. That is the aura of command. It doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it simply is. When you enter a space with complete self-control, people's instincts respond before their intellect. They sense something they can't define, authority without effort. That is the essence of dominance. The Machiavellian man understands that control begins with perception. He doesn't scream power, he radiates it. He doesn't argue to prove his point. His silence forces others to consider it. The less he reveals, the more they project. The more they project, the more power he holds. This is psychological warfare at its purest, mastery through mystery. You must train your energy to speak louder than your voice. Your posture, your stillness, your eyes, they should all communicate one message. I am not to be interrupted. Weak men announce their presence. Focused men make their presence impossible to ignore. The key is composure, emotionless calm under every circumstance. When chaos erupts, remain unmoved. When others gossip, stay silent. When they provoke you, don't react, calculate. The one who stays calm longest wins. In power, patience is aggression disguised as grace. Comment below, my presence commands. Because once you embody the aura of command, words become unnecessary. The room bends to the one who doesn't seek attention, but who already has it. Remember, power is quiet until it's not. When you master presence, you no longer have to chase control, because you are control. The moment you stop seeking approval, the world loses its leverage over you. Most men live as prisoners, chained not by laws, but by opinions. They adjust their tone, their dreams, their actions, all to please ghosts who would never bleed for them. That's slavery disguised as civility. The Machiavellian man understands that approval is the currency of the weak. He trades it for respect, and when respect isn't offered, he trades it for fear. Both serve power. Neither requires permission. Approval is a drug that keeps you dependent. The more you crave it, the less you control yourself. The powerful, however, cultivate indifference. Indifference is not arrogance, it's armor. It means your self-worth is decided internally, not auctioned publicly. When you reach that state, rejection no longer wounds you. It exposes others. You stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, are they useful? That shift marks the death of your old self, the compliant one, the agreeable one, the easily manipulated one. Machiavelli wrote that it is safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. The modern translation? Approval fades, power endures. When you stop trying to be liked, your actions start carrying weight. People listen differently when your validation isn't for sale. The world begins to orbit around your standards, not the other way around. That is psychological dominance, silent, unshakable, sovereign. Comment below, my worth needs no witnesses. Say it with intent, because once you bury your hunger for approval, you rise free. And freedom, in the hands of the disciplined, is the purest form of control. Remember, when you no longer need to be understood, you become unforgettable. Power without strategy collapses. Focus without foresight burns out. The strategist's mind is not built on emotion. It's built on observation, timing, and control. The Machiavellian man studies the world like a chessboard, not a battlefield. He knows that most people fight for validation, not victory. They move impulsively, exposing themselves through pride, envy, or anger. He, however, moves with purpose, deliberate, patient, surgical. His greatest weapon is not aggression, it's calculation. The strategist understands that every interaction is an exchange of influence. Every word spoken, every silence held, every reaction given, all of it shifts balance. So he never moves first. He watches. He lets others reveal their patterns, their desires, their weaknesses. Because once you understand what drives a man, you own him. You can predict him. You can guide him. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors the prepared mind, not the passionate one. That means no emotional impulsivity, no wasted movements, only precision. To think like a strategist is to detach from the moment. You must train yourself to see 5 moves ahead, in business, in relationships, in power. Never react where others can provoke you. Never speak where silence wins more ground. The calmest mind always holds the upper hand. Control of perception is control of reality, and perception belongs to the one who speaks last. Comment below, I move with calculation. Because the strategist's strength lies not in how fast he acts, but in how completely he understands. Remember, emotions are for the manipulated. Patience is for the ruler. A man who can wait while others panic already owns the outcome. A man who cannot control his emotions can never control his destiny. Rage, jealousy, fear, these are chains disguised as fire. The crowd burns with them. The ruler builds with them. Emotional control is not the absence of feeling. It's the dominance of reason over reaction. The Machiavellian mind doesn't suppress emotion. It converts it into precision. Anger becomes awareness. Pain becomes calculation. Desire becomes leverage. Nothing is wasted when the mind commands the heart. The world provokes you on purpose. Every insult, every rejection, every delay, they're tests designed to pull you off balance. The moment you react, you reveal yourself. The moment you reveal yourself, you become predictable. That's why most men lose before they even start. They hand their enemies a map of their weaknesses through their own reactions. The man who can remain calm when others' rage terrifies them, he's unreadable, untouchable, unstoppable. Machiavelli wrote that men must either be treated kindly or destroyed because a wounded man will always seek revenge. Apply that to your emotions. Never let them wound you. If something disturbs your peace, it has conquered you. Emotional stability is psychological armor, and armor doesn't flinch. You learn to observe your feelings like passing clouds, seen, acknowledged, but never obeyed. That's the discipline that breeds control, and control is what breeds command. Comment below, my calm is my weapon. Because once you master your emotions, you no longer need to fight for respect. Your composure is respect. Remember this, the most dangerous man in any room isn't the loudest, it's the calmest. He's already decided the outcome, and he's just waiting for everyone else to catch up. True power doesn't need to be visible, it only needs to be felt. The weak crave recognition, the powerful prefer invisibility. They work in silence, strike with precision, and disappear before anyone can react. The crowd chases fame, the ruler chases control. The Machiavellian man understands that exposure is vulnerability. Once they see your plans, they can counter them. Once they see your emotions, they can manipulate them. That's why real dominance lives in the shadows, unannounced, unnoticed, undeniable. The shadow of power is built through restraint. You don't show all you know, you don't speak all you think. You let others underestimate you because arrogance blinds them, and their blindness becomes your advantage. Every misunderstanding of your silence is another step toward their defeat. Machiavelli wrote that appearances control men, but only the few control appearances. That is your task, to design perception without revealing the designer. Let them believe they're choosing when every path leads back to your intention. Power is never loud, it's layered. It's in how you time your silence, how you control the tempo of attention, how you plant ideas like seeds in their minds and let them believe they grew them. The moment you realize influence doesn't require visibility, you ascend above the ordinary, because the masses chase recognition, but recognition makes them predictable. You, however, move in the unseen, the realm where power is pure and unchallenged. Comment below, I move unseen. Say it as a creed, because when your influence operates from the shadows, no one can stop you, because no one can find you. Remember, kings rule kingdoms, but ghosts rule kings. And now you understand. Power was never something to chase. It was something to become. Every silence you kept, every distraction you killed, every emotion you mastered, it was all part of the forging. You have burned through the noise, stripped away the weakness, and stepped into clarity. The world that once controlled you now revolves around your discipline. You are no longer part of their system. You stand above it, watching, calculating, commanding. This is not arrogance, it's awareness. The moment you stopped begging for direction and started building your own, you crossed the line between man and monarch. Machiavelli wrote that fortune is a woman, ruthless to the hesitant and loyal only to the bold. But you no longer wait for fortune. You've become her equal. You bend circumstance through focus and destiny through intent. You move slow when others rush. You strike once, and it's enough. The world doesn't hear you coming anymore. It feels you approaching. That's what a forged aura is. Not noise, not flash, not desperation, but gravity, the silent weight of inevitability. Remember this: people will test you, tempt you, provoke you. But a forged man does not react. He decides. He does not explain. He executes. His time is currency, his silence is command, and his presence is law. You've become the man they can't distract, can't manipulate, can't decode. You've become the storm they whisper about. Comment below, "My focus is my power," because this is where the forging ends and the rain begins. Now, if you felt this message, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this is Mind of Machiavelli, and the world needs fewer dreamers and more rulers.